Seeing the crowds, Jesus went up the hill. There he sat down and was joined by his disciples. Then he began to speak. This is what he taught them. How happy are the poor in spirit, theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Happy the gentle, they shall have the earth for their heritage. Happy those who mourn, they shall be comforted. Happy those who hunger and thirst for what is right, they shall be satisfied. Happy the merciful, they shall have mercy shown them. Happy the pure in heart, they shall see God. Happy the peacemakers, they shall be called children of God. Happy those who are persecuted in the cause of right, theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Happy are you when people abuse you and persecute you and speak all kinds of calumny against you on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven. When I was training to be a teacher, my first teaching practice was in St Andrews in Saltcoats. I was training as a physics and maths teacher, and there was one particular teacher there who helped me a great deal. A man called John Connor. He was the head of the maths department, and he was a wonderful teacher. I learnt a great deal from working with him and spending time with him. But at one point, after a couple of weeks, he had to take me aside and have a quiet word with me. He was worried that I was being too influenced by him, that I was going to try and be an imitation of him, which of course I'd never be able to be. We were very different people. I was brand new, out of the box, first time in a school, whereas Mr. Connor had been teaching for years, great deal of experience and a great deal of skill, some of which I would probably never possess. The thing is, I wanted to be a teacher like John Connor, but John Connor knew that I had to be a teacher like me. I could learn a lot from him, but I couldn't be him. I had to be myself. I think we can make a similar kind of mistake when we look to the saints. We're called to be holy, which I think just means we're called to be faithful to God above all things, as the saints were. But when we look to the saints for good example of how to achieve that, we can make one of a couple of mistakes. We can look at them and see their lives as so completely different to ours, lived in a different time and a different place. Their circumstances were completely different. We can see them as so different to us that we can find nothing in their lives to copy, that we think we have nothing in common with them at all. Or to the other extreme, we can think that if we are to imitate their holiness, we have to imitate them perfectly, become like them, become models of them, which not only isn't true, it isn't possible, because we are different people. Well, the saints can provide us with good example. We can't be them. To respond to God's call to holiness, to respond to God's call in the way that the saints did, we first have to be ourselves. We have to learn to be who God created us to be, to find that freedom to be ourselves. Only then will we be able to discover the holiness, the happiness, the joy that God has in store for us all. Yes, we can look to the saints for example, but not so that we become like them, but so that like them we become ourselves. We look to them to see how they were able to overcome their weaknesses and their temptations, how they were able to resist the pressures and the expectations of the age in which they lived, so that we can do the same, so that we can find that freedom to become all that God has created us to be, and know the joy that God has in store for us. In the end, watching John Connor, that teacher in Saltcoats, I learnt a great deal. I learnt a great deal about how I could be the best possible teacher that I could be. And in the end, it wasn't such a good teacher, which is why I gave up and tried something else. On this Feast of All Saints, we're encouraged to look to those saints who provide us with good example, not to distance them from us, nor to suggest that we imitate them perfectly, try and become like them, but so that we, like them, can find the freedom to become who God created us to be the best possible version of the person that we are.